I hope this time there will not be an issue. Okay, webinar is now streaming on YouTube. Okay, so now we are live on YouTube. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone watching it on YouTube, because this video will be available for some time. And we are going to delete this video from YouTube and will be available only on the platform. To know more about the platform, you will find the link in the description in some time. Description will be added. If you can connect with Harsh to add that. Just message him on WhatsApp, he will do it. Okay, there is some sort of be saying something. Naveen sir, as I know you and Heather have been more than decade friendship. No, we met in 2 years. Yeah, it took around few days for us to get clicked. Okay, cool. So let's get started. So yesterday what we have done, and if you see the title on YouTube, it says Java Fast Track Advanced, is because the basics, the OOPS concept, OOPS is almost done. We have to, we'll be doing some advanced part with interfaces today, and we'll go from there. And it was a great session yesterday. A lot of people stuck to us for a long time, and it's difficult, to stay in this session for a long time. If it is online, when you have a choice of doing anything else, especially on the weekends and Sunday you're joining, that's a good thing. Happy about it, and good. Thankfully the cricket match is in the evening, so it will not disturb us. Sometimes, we do live sessions at the same time. There's some event going on for everyone, and people do switch there. So yeah, there's a competition between learning and entertainment. Okay, so great session yesterday, and now today we'll take it from there. Let me just copy the Zoom link for people who want to attend from Zoom. Harsh added the description? Yes. Okay, everyone on YouTube, if you can check the description, there will be a link for Java Fast Track. It's a free course. You can just enroll there, and you will find the code and the notes by evening for both the classes, for yesterday's and for today. Okay, perfect. Cool. So what's the plan for today? The plan is we'll start with Lambda expression, which is one of my favorite topic. Then we'll move towards exception handling. Then we'll talk about collections, and then we'll talk about Stream API, but I will be back for the topic. And then we'll finish the day with annotation. So we do have 5 hours approximately, in which we are going to complete all those things. And again, it's difficult to learn these concepts in 5 hours, and that's why we say it's a fast track. So it's mostly to refresh your knowledge, and if you are new to few of the concepts, you will get to know what those concepts are. Okay, so show your excitement, say something on the chat that you're all ready, all set, so that we can get started. And by the time, I will just check if the streaming is going good on YouTube. Set the status. What's that? Give me the phone back. Harsh is leaving for a function and he's taking my phone. That's sweet. Okay, cool. So now let's get started. I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. But before I share my screen, I just have to verify if I don't have any personal thing open on my machine. It's scary to go live on YouTube with this. Thank you. Okay. We'll miss you, Harsh.
2 hours only.
Okay, cool. So this is the project which Heather was using in the last session, and this particular project having some issue with the ID, and so we'll switch to the project which I was doing, or maybe I will use interface project, right? Because it's Lambda expression. Okay, so there's no problem with the interface. There are a lot of classes created inside this particular main file, and Okay, what's wrong? Oh, a lot of projects are open, that's the reason. So I'll close this, in cap close. This was a Zoom link for the yesterday's session. Inheritance, close, and interface project. The main file. IDE has some issue. It's not able to open the file now. Weird. Okay, cool. So I hope everyone, you can see my screen now. I'm showing the screen on, I'm showing my screen, and Heather, if you can verify if they can see my screen on YouTube. I think they can on Zoom. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now let's continue with this. Now we know the concept of interfaces, right? Now interface basically means that you can declare methods, right? You can declare methods which you can implement in your class. So if you want to code for the interfaces, so normally we have this good practice where you don't code for the classes, you code for the interfaces. There is something called loose coupling which we try to achieve. Have we talked about loose coupling yesterday? Okay, so Heather mentioned about loose coupling, right? Where if you have two entities, you create them separately. You don't directly make them dependent on each other. What happens is when you have two things dependent on each other, it's difficult to remove it. It's difficult to modify it. It's difficult to do anything with that. So it's good in the Apple ecosystem because everything is tightly coupled in the Apple ecosystem. You can't simply use some other devices with Apple. That's what they want to make it. But in the real world, if you want to have a good ecosystem, it's very important to have a loose coupling concept. Especially, I love the assembled computers, right? So I have one with me here, which I love. The only problem is I can't take it anywhere, I can't travel. But yeah, it's a good machine. And it's loosely coupled, right? Anytime I can change the graphic card, anytime I can change the hard drive, I can change the RAM, no issue. It should just match the configuration. And that's what I'm talking about, loose coupling, right? And in the loose coupling, we basically try to code for the interfaces. Okay, in Java 8, I mean, before Java 8, in interfaces, we can only declare methods. And then suddenly in Java 8, they started saying, hey, can we also define methods in interface? And that was tricky. A lot of people were against it. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the chat. Do you love this concept of defining method in the interface, or you think, okay, I don't care? I want to see the YouTube chat as well. Let me just keep it open. Yeah, they're great, is it? Okay, let me just increase the volume a bit. Okay. Yeah, so they are great, right? The only problem is when you think about interfaces, we think about declaring methods, but now we have an option of defining methods. And I will tell you that once we start with this Stream API concept, why it all came into existence, why default methods are there. At this point, we can't really talk about it. Yeah. Cool. So now let's move towards some other concept, which is Lambda expression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file. And here I will name this class as Lambda demo, or the file Lambda demo. Okay, in this file, I'm going to have a main method, which is required. And in this, let's create some interfaces. And now you know how to create the interface, right? So what I'm going to do is a very simple interface, and I will say interface, okay, I'm saying capital interface. Now this is what happens when you try to switch between different languages. I'm a big fan of different languages. I work with Python, I work with Java, sometimes C#, sometimes JavaScript. And when you switch, as a developer, it takes some time because it's okay. As a developer, you're not doing things live. You can make mistakes. As a trainer, it's very tricky, right? The moment you type interface with capital I, people will start questioning your knowledge. And then that's the issue when you switch between languages. And that's fine. Mistakes are about to happen. We are humans. We are aliens. Yeah, so let's say interface. Give me a name for the interface. Maybe a car, right? Car is an interface, right? Because we don't drive a car. What we drive is the actual car. Example, you can drive a Wagoner, you can drive, especially in India, I drive, let's say Nexon, maybe Wagoner. You know, one of my car which I recently sold was Espresso, one of my favorite car. The only problem is it's not safe. Oh, issue with the mic, you can't hear me properly. Any issue with the mic, everyone? It's proper, right? Yeah, it's audible. Gopichand, if you can see your connections, there's something wrong with the connection. I can hear myself properly on YouTube. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there's a car called Espresso, which I loved. And yeah, basically you drive the actual car, right? But we call every car as a car because that's how you define it. That's how you mention that. That's how you put into that category, right? So car just an interface. And then every company implement their own implementation. So let's say car, and the most important thing in a car is not the sunroof, it's not the music system. The most important the thing in the car should be able to drive, right? I mean, yeah, of course, with the engine. So you have this car drive. Now, the way you define this interface, so you tell me, everyone, if I create a reference of this car here, car, let's say car, my favorite car is Espresso, not safe, but yeah. I still miss it. How many of you know this car about the Maruti Suzuki Espresso? Okay, 0-star rating here. It's not safe. It's not safe. But let's say if you have this car, and now I want to say Espresso drive. Will it drive? Will it work? Yeah, the Lord Espresso. That's right. Okay. Now, why this will not work is because, first of all, for this car type, we are saying Espresso, we are not creating the object of it. And that's why if you can see here, it will say the variable Espresso might not have been initialized. So you have to initialize it. How will you do it? It's very simple. You can simply say null. I mean, I don't care. It's null. And if you run this, you will get one of the most famous error in the world, which we all love. Any guess what that error is? Everyone? Or the exception? Yeah, that's right. So we'll get one of the most famous and loved exception, which is null pointer exception. I hope I will get that. Yeah. So you can see we got a null pointer exception here. And what it says is you cannot invoke car.drive because Espresso is null. So that's right. We cannot put it as null. We have to create the object of a car. And that will solve the issue. Can we do this? Sometimes I feel, I should use Notepad to type the code because IDE reveals all the secrets. It says there's an error here. Why there's an error? The error is car is abstract, cannot be instantiated. It's because you cannot instantiate the interface. That's right. How do we solve this? So it's very simple. In normal world, what you do is you create a class. Let's say car Espresso, because we have to design the car Espresso. And you will simply implement the car. And then inside this particular class, you can define the method. In fact, not can, you need to define the method. So you have to say public void drive. And I can say smooth, powerful, unsafe car, right? So this is what I'm typing here. And now, so I have the implementation. So what should I do now? So instead of new car, I should be saying new Espresso, right? And now I can simply say espresso.drive. Will this work? Of course, it should. Otherwise, we have to take the car to the maintenance. Yeah. So you can see it says smooth, powerful, and unsafe car. So basically what we are doing is we are creating the implementation of our interface, and then we are creating the object of the implementation because you can't instantiate the interface. You are instantiating a class. You have to remember this. You cannot instantiate the interface. It's always the class. Very important concept. It's always the class. Okay. Now what we are doing is we are instantiating a class here, and then we are trying to call a method. Now, even if the declaration is for the car, the implementation is of the espresso, and that's why it will call the methods of the espresso, which is drive here. And we have seen this in the polymorphism, in the method overriding concept, right? Okay, so this looks cool, right? And we know this concept. Now let me just take this one step forward. Now, before we do anything with this particular example, I will create one more class, and we'll go there and we'll come back here. Okay, I have few questions for you. And let me say inner demo, which is my concept of inner classes. I want to talk about inner classes as well. And let's say in this also I have a main method. Now I have a question, everyone. Can I create a class, let's say A, just to keep it simple, or maybe I will create a class called alpha. So we have this class called alpha. And in this class, what are the members I can have? Let me know your answers in the chat. What are the members of the classes? Okay, so we have data members. I mean, not in this class, of course, this class is empty, but in general, we can have, yeah, so we can have static members and non-static members. On the other hand, we can have one more category. You can have data members, which is your variables, and you can have methods. In fact, constructor is also part of a method, right? So you can have a variable and you can have methods, right? You can have those things here. So let me just write it. So we can, in a class, we can have variables. In a class, we can have methods. What else we can have in a class? Can I have a class inside a class? I know that sounds weird, but the question is, can we do it? And the answer is yes. We can have a class inside the class, and that class which is inside the class, so if you talk about this class is called an inner class. Reason? Because it is a part of another class, right? So let's say I want to create a variable, any variable, let's say int num. I have this variable here, let's say the value is 10. The way you can access this variable inside this method or inside this main method is you have to first create the object of alpha. I will say alpha obj equal to new alpha, and then using this object I can call num, and we know this, right? I can basically print the value if I want. So I can say system.out.println, and I can put a bracket here. So I can basically call a member like this. Create the object, call it. Same goes for a method. Example, if I have a method here which is public void, let's say show, and I want to call this show, let's say in show I'm saying something, and here if I want to call a method, I can use the same object obj dot, and you can call a method. So we know if you want to access a member of a class which are non-static, basically you need object. And for variable num, for method show, we are using the object. Okay, this looks cool. But what happens if I create a class called beta inside the alpha class? Can I do that? There's no error. That means we can create a class beta inside the alpha class. In this class, I can have methods as well. I will say show beta. I will say for testing. So I have this method called show beta inside the beta class, and it's not able to detect this word. I will say get used to it. Okay, there is some other issue with this. Inner class beta may be static class, never used. So we can have a static class or we can have a non-static class. Inner class I'm talking about, not the outer class. You can't make the outer class static, but you can make inner class static. At this point, I'm not touching those concepts, just stick to non-static classes. Now my question to everyone, can I create the object of beta inside the main? Just say yes or no. Then we'll say how, if yes. Prashant is asking, will the video will be saved on your channel? It will be available till tomorrow morning. If you want to rewatch this session, go to the platform and you can watch it there for free. So you'll find the link in description. Check for the Java Fast Track course link. You can enroll for free and you will have the access there. But type is alpha. Can we call beta by reference of alpha first? Okay, so let's try. So you're saying yes, and then you're also saying how it can be done. Let me do the same thing. So if I try to say beta obj1 equal to new beta, you can see it is giving you an error. It says, I'm not able to find where the beta is, cannot resolve the symbol beta. Of course, right? For this class in a demo, it can't see beta anywhere because beta is a part of alpha. So in that case, what you have to do is you have to say, hey, if you want to find beta in alpha. Now there is no problem. It's able to find beta because it's a part of alpha. But the problem is here, this side. How will you solve this part? Now tell me, the beta class, for time being I will make it static just to make it simple. So let's say the beta class inside the alpha class is static. And we know if you want to access a static member, you can simply use the class name. So if you want to use beta, you can say, hey, beta is a part of alpha. It's a static, so you can directly use the class name. Now there's no issue. I can use this object of obj1 and I can call show beta and run this. Everyone is happy and you can see it says smooth and powerful safeguard. Okay, am I calling beta? Why is it not printing beta? For testing, it should print testing. Run. Okay, it was running the previous example. Okay, so you can see it says 10 because we are printing number here. It says something and then it says for testing. So everything is working here, right? So we are able to call the method of the inner class. But what happens if you make it normal? There's no static now. How you are going to use it? So of course we can't use alpha because this is a non-static member now. So whenever you have a non-static member, you basically use the object. Now object of alpha is obj. So to access the new beta, you have to say obj dot new beta. I know this syntax looks a bit weird. Yeah, there are some weird syntax available somewhere here there. So you can say it says obj dot new beta, if that makes sense. And now if I run this, it still works, right? So if you have a non-static inner class, you basically use the object of the outer class to create the object of the inner class. And that's what we have done here. Now, there will be one question in your mind. Why in this world someone will create the inner class, right? See, the thing is, let's say you want some features of beta and you want some features of the alpha. Logically, you should create two different classes. Alpha class is different, beta class is different, and you can create the object of beta directly. Why inner class? See, sometimes you want to limit the use of a class. Only when I'm using alpha, I want to use beta. If I don't want to use alpha, I don't want to use beta. If there's a dependency like this, you can create the inner class. You're limiting a scope of it. It's easier to document. It is easier to reduce the bugs because no one can call beta without alpha, right? That's the idea behind the inner classes. One more beauty, if you see, we all know that whenever you compile the Java code, it creates some files. What are those files are called? Yeah, those files are called bytecodes, right? And it has an extension. The extension is .class. So the file which you type is .java. After compilation, you get .class files. Now tell me, if you look at this code, which I'm showing you now on the screen, how many class files will be there for this particular file? One class file, 2, 3, 2, okay. Someone says 3, Puru says 3, everyone else says 2. Okay. So if you look at this class or this file, there are actually 3 types, not 2. If you're thinking there are only 2 classes like Espresso and Lambda demo, there's one more, interface. Even the interface will get their own class. Let me show you. So if I click on the out, which is the output directory, there is a class file for the card. There is a class file for Espresso. Where is Espresso? Espresso is here. There's a class file for Lambda demo. So there are total 3 class files. And if you want to see this in the directory, find files in file, not this way. How do I open? I have to go to that path and open. But trust me. Okay, so you're saying open in. Where's the option of open in? Oh, it's here. And it opened up there. Come down, come down, come down. Yeah. So if you see the out folder, and if you see the production, if you see interfaces, there are class files, if you can see. So we got for card, we got for Lambda demo, and we got for Espresso. This is for that file. But if you look at the class which we have created, which is this, which file, alpha, and how many class files it will create for this particular file? Three. Okay, tell me the name of it. One is alpha.class, which is very simple. One is inner_demo.class. What about beta? What the name it will? What name you will give it for it? Yeah. So basically, if you see the finder, there is a file called alpha$beta because beta is a part of the alpha class. So in an inner class, that's how you get the name. Making sense, everyone? Okay, cool. So inner class can be a different type. Inner class can be static inner class or it can be non-static inner class. Now let me show you one more way of defining the inner class. Let's go back to Lambda demo. Okay, here. Now tell me everyone, a dollar is a separator. Okay, so Amit is asking what does dollar means. It's basically a separator between the class. So it says beta is a part of alpha. Okay, cool. No, you can't do that. Someone is using their phone number for the name, but I can't pronounce it. So the question is, can we use alpha in the case of object? No, you can't do that because it's non-static. So if you use alpha here, you can see you got the error. It has to be object. Okay, going back here. Yeah, new alpha you can. So if you can create the object here itself and that should work. There's no problem because this is itself is an object. Cool. Let me just go back to obj. Okay, going back. So now tell me everyone, what is the sole purpose of this class Espresso? So the way I'm looking at the code is, we wanted a card. Since card is the interface, the whole purpose of this Espresso becomes to define the interface. And that makes sense, right? That's how you define the class, the class which will implement the interface. But let's imagine, if you are building a car and you are going to manufacture, let's say thousands of cars, then it makes sense to create a class of it, right? But let's say someone, maybe I have a dream to have a customized car, and in the world, only I should be able to drive that car. No one else, only one car in the world, like a limited edition, but that's only for me. If I want to do that, I don't want to get a class of it because creating a class, wasting so much of memory, so much of time designing it. Can we just say, let me comment it. I want to say, hey, why are you defining a class just for one object? So can we just do that here? I want to say, I want a car. So what your JVM is complaining about? Tell me, what JVM is saying behind the scene? JVM says, I will give you the car. You give me the design first. Okay, there's a deadlock now. I'm saying, hey, I'm not going to give you design like a class. And JVM says, I can't give you the object, right? So how do we solve this? So we are negotiating now. So I'm talking to the JVM by saying, hey, JVM, let's do this. I'm asking you to give me a car object, right? And JVM says, hey, that's the interface. You can't do that. Then I'm saying, okay, don't worry. Your concern is you want the implementation, right? JVM says, yes. So I'm going to provide the implementation here. Sounds weird. Okay, so let me show you where I'm trying to give the implementation. I got the car object, right? Which is here. Of course, I'm not getting it. I'm just trying to get it. So new car. And JVM says there is no implementation. So I'm saying, okay, hold on. Let me give the implementation here. Now this part here is called inner class. Sounds weird, but that's inner class. Why I'm saying this is an inner class is because this is a part of the Lambda demo class. Okay, everyone? But still, there is an error. You know what the error is? Error is not because this is a wrong syntax. Error is you are creating a class, but you have to also implement the method, the drive method. So here we can implement the drive method. And I can say same thing. I just can copy this and paste it here. And just to differentiate, I will just add some exclamation marks. Okay, yeah, that's right. Aditya, maybe you're watching my video on YouTube. So normally it's not copy pasting, it's code reuse, right? Copy pasting sounds cheap. Okay, so you can see what we are doing is we are defining a class here itself. This is a class, trust me. So just after this new car, you can define the implementation just like this. This is the inner class and this is the method which we are defining. Will this work? Let's try it out. So right click, run, and it worked. Cool. So now tell me, if this is a class, inner class, what will be the name of it in the files? It's a part of Lambda demo, but normally to have a name, the class need to have a name, right? There's no name here. And when you don't have a name, it is called anonymous. So this class here is called the anonymous inner class. And if you see the files, look at this. It's lambda demo $1. You don't have a name, so it's 1. Will it be always 1 or 2? Now that depends upon the amount of inner classes you have. So let's say if I create one more object like this, maybe a customized car, one more customized car for me. And if I use some other card name, let's say Nexon, and here smooth powerful safe car, but also, okay, I don't want to say anything bad about Tata cars. Okay, so smooth, powerful, safe car. And now we have two inner classes. Yeah, I wanted to say bad service, but I have not experienced that till now. So once I experience it, I will talk about it. At this point, it's good. Okay, so we got two here. Now tell me what will be the name of the second inner class? This is also inner class, right? So if you run this, of course, we are not calling the method of drive for Nexon. It will not print it. But if you look at the files here, it is $2. So the name goes, yeah. So the name goes with the numbers. So if you have multiple inner classes, it will have different numbers. Making sense, everyone? Okay, at this point, I just want only one car. If you want me to have two cars, there is an option of super chat on YouTube. Use it. Okay. I'm just kidding. Am I? No. Okay, so we got this, right? So everyone, this is making sense, right? This is inner class. So which is better implementation? Creating a separate class or using the anonymous inner class? The answer is depends. If you need multiple objects of the same type, then you go with the separate class. But if you need only one object for that implementation, it is good to use the anonymous inner class. Maybe you want a separate implementation every time. In that case, we normally use anonymous inner class. Especially people who have done coding in Android, they might have seen this type of code. Or maybe in the server-side coding, we do this. We use anonymous inner class. Making sense? But most of the time, we use separate class. Okay. Any benefits of the inner class? Yes. So basically, you don't have to maintain the classes, because if you have a separate class, you have to maintain it. You need to know where it is getting used. The inner class will be used only once. You can't reuse it. It's done. It's if you execute it once, you can't reuse in the other lines. Example, if I want to create one more object of the car, espresso, let's say espresso 1, I can't use it now. I have to define that one more time. I have to implement that one more time. Okay. Cool. Actually, it's not like you are going to use this only once. Maybe in future, if you're going to learn Spring, in Spring security, when you start doing configuration, every line is an inner class. Okay, and it's a headache there. I don't know how many of you have seen the security. Let me show you if I have a project in this machine. Recently we did Spring security examples. If I open this new window, and I'm using JWT here. Where is the config class? Security config class. If you look at this is inner class. I mean, anonymous inner class, anonymous inner class. So it's not rare. It's just that you have not reached to the advanced part. I hope I'm making sense. Okay, you want some real example? Let me just give you a scenario. See, once you learn this language Java, Then you go for the next step. What's the next step? Next step is building frameworks, right? Or using frameworks to build applications. It can be Android, it can be Spring, it can be Sturts if you're still using it. Croc, how do you pronounce it? The Spring competition Crocs. I forgot the pronunciation. Quacks. So there are a lot of frameworks available, right? Now, whenever you want to build enterprise level softwares, you use these frameworks. Now, what's a framework? Framework is basically, there are a lot of libraries available. There's a way you have to build applications. Now, what these libraries give you is, they give you certain classes. They also give you certain interfaces so that you can connect with other libraries. Now, these interfaces you need to implement. Now, how will you implement? If you are going to use that interface multiple times, then you create a class, right? And then you define the methods, and then you use the class multiple times. But what if, for a scenario, you're going to use one interface only for that particular section, then why you're getting a separate class? And this happens a lot. I just showed you a Spring security example. It's very common. Once you start using frameworks, you start using anonymous inner class a lot. And that's one of the issues, right? A lot of people only focus on a language and DSA, and they get stuck there. And the moment they go to the industry for a job and they get a project, it's difficult to survive only with DSA knowledge. DSA is important, but that's not the only important thing. You have to learn frameworks as well. It doesn't matter which language you're learning. If you're learning JavaScript, learn frameworks, tools, libraries. If you're using PHP, learn framework. If you're working with Ruby, learn framework. At least you need to be good with one framework. Don't get just stuck to one language and one DSA concepts. Your competition is with AI, right? AI knows more than you. So you know how much you should know now. Okay, I hope I'm making sense. MongoDB is essential for Java. It's a good to know concept, not compulsory. Okay, now let's do some crazy stuff. Everyone there with me for the crazy stuff? Yeah. Okay. So I need someone's help. So what I will do is, I need a volunteer. So I will give access to someone on Zoom. If you want to be a volunteer, I will have some questions for you. Simple stuff, nothing fancy, okay? Don't worry. Don't get scared. I will help you. If you want to be a volunteer, just raise your hand on Zoom. I can already see 2 people are raising their hand, Harshika and Mansoor. Okay. Only Mansoor is there now. Also, you need a mic. So make sure that your mic is on before I give the access. So it is Mansoor. I'm giving you the access, Mansoor. Hey, hi, Mansoor. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi sir, good morning.
Okay, just a second. I just need to change my speaker settings. I can't hear you properly. Can you say that once again, Mansoor?
Hello sir.
Yes, now I can hear you. Good morning.
Yeah. Yeah, good morning sir. How are you?
All good, all good. How about you?
Yeah, that's good sir. Thank you so much.
So, yeah. Okay, so I have a question for you, Mansoor.
Yeah,
What
yes,
you do is, I will tell you something and you have to complete the sentence, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So let's say, Mansoor, I want a new car Nexon, okay? And then,
Sir.
I'm just saying car Nexon. You need to complete the sentence.
New car.
New car. Why you're saying new car? Why not something else? Why only car?
Create an object, sir.
Yeah, you're saying car is because the type is car, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Then you have to give round brackets, then curly brackets open, close, a semicolon at the end. What's inside?
To implement the methods.
Okay, so method name is?
Drive,
Okay, return type?
return type void.
How do you know it's void?
Because we did not mention return types.
Yeah, because in the interface we are saying void, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, void. What's the name of the method?
Drive.
How do you know it's drive?
In interface, we mention the
Yeah,
drive
because
only.
in the interface we are saying that's drive. Okay, perfect. How many parameters you have inside?
Zero parameters.
How do you know that's zero parameter?
In this interface method, there is no parameters in the.
Exactly, right? Perfect. And then what should I write inside?
So the system dot order.
No,
Return.
now that's something you don't know, right? Maybe you're guessing is because here we are writing that, but you're not quite sure
To
what we
execute
will do
the
here.
methods.
Yeah, we have to do something in the method, right? But you're not sure what I'm going to do. Perfect. So, everyone, Mansoor was able to help me with this new car. Mansoor was able to help me with the public void drive. But the only thing Mansoor was not sure is what I want to do inside the method. Because here we are doing print, but maybe here I want to do something else. Making sense? So if Mansoor can help me with this, why can't my JDK help me with that? Why I have to waste Mansoor's time to help me with these two lines? Right, Mansoor?
Yeah, it's correct, sir.
And that's where in Java 8 we got a new concept, and it will help you to save these two lines. Thank you so much, Mansoor, for the help.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. So everyone, you got the point, right? Mansoor was able to help me because of the interface defined here. So Mansoor knows that the interface is name is car. Mansoor knows that the method returns void. Mansoor knows that the method name is drive. Mansoor knows the number of parameter is 0. And that's why he was able to help me here. What he was not sure is the implementation. So maybe I want to do something else. I want to say cost, let's say 11 lakhs or whatever currency it is, and range, petrol capacity. I will say cap, and let's say 30 liters. I'm not sure, but let's say. So I want to define these two variables, and I want to say car with cost plus 11. I mean, you got the gist, right, everyone? No one knows what I want to do here. Only I know as a developer what I want to do here. But you are sure this two line will be fixed. So don't you think JDK should help? And that's where we got a concept of Lambda expression. You can reduce this number of lines here by removing this. Because new car is something you can assume. Public void drive, you can assume, so you can remove this. And just after the brackets, put an arrow. And that's it. And you remove this extra bracket which was left. This, my friends, this is Lambda expression. Reduce the number of lines. Simple? Now? Okay, I will show you one more method. Let's have an interface called calc. For time being, I just have one method which is add two numbers. Adding two numbers will take two parameters, or maybe I will find a square of a number. Square of a number will take only one parameter. I will say int I. And of course, I should not be able to define it. It should be only declare. I can define, but let's say declare. We already have a calc. I will say calculator. Okay, so now people help me here. Who want to help? I need a new volunteer. Okay, it's Harshika. Harshika, can you hear me?
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hey, hi, Harshika. Good morning. Okay, so Harshika, help me here. I want to call this method square. I want to find the square of a number. Let's say num is 5. I want to find a square of it. So help me with this interface, okay, which is calculator.
So it would be calculator and the object name.
Calculator, object name is, let's say, calc equal to.
Equal to, here we have to pass the parameter here.
Okay, let's go with normal way, normal anonymous interface without the lambda.
Okay, without the lambda. It would be new calc.
New calculator, then.
If we are, then we can use the calculator object and call the method.
Okay, but you have to define also, right?
Yes, yes. So here we can use the anonymous inner class and then define the method definition for it.
Okay, what's the method return type?
Int,
Okay, int, method name is square.
where
How many variables?
1.
Okay, int I. Logic for this, I mean, I can do that. I am a developer.
Written I into I, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the logic is the only thing which others cannot help. That is something I need to think about, right? And you are able to help me with this. So using this, I can simply say, I can use calc dot square and I can pass the value, which is num. Okay, let's run this to see if we can get 25 and yeah, we got 25. Perfect. So now, Harika, help me with the lambda here. How will you do it?
Here, instead of the new calculator object instantiation, we can go with the lambda expression, that is arrow mark, and then give the number of parameters there.
Okay, so basically we can use lambda, so we can remove till here, right? So till the
Yes.
method name, you can remove everything.
Yes.
And since
Yes.
we are removing one curly brackets here, we can remove the outer one as well, or the inner one. At least we have to remove one curly brackets, which is this removed.
Yeah.
And now we just have to put an arrow. Perfect. The question is, will this work? Let's try. Let's rerun. Perfect. So tell me, Harika, how many lines of code we have here inside the definition?
Only one.
Only one. And if you go back to if else, we did that, right? In if else, if you have only one line, we don't write curly brackets, right?
Yes.
Let's try here. Let's remove the curly brackets since we only have one line. And we have two semicolons now. Let's remove one. Let's put everything in one line. It is giving you error. It's because it says if your only line is return, don't write return. And you can see error gone. Let's run. And you can see it works.
Yeah.
One more thing. Don't you think if you're saying calculator, and if you're assuming that it knows about the method return type, it knows about method name, it should also know about method type or the parameter type. Then
Yeah,
why
the
just
data type
mention
also.
int? Gone. Run. It works. Since we only have one variable, you don't even need round brackets. Run. It works. Now that's the power of Lambda expression. Look at this code and look at this code. Yeah, people coming from JavaScript world, yes, same as arrow function. Making sense, everyone? So thank you so much, Harika, for the help.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now some gotchas or issues, or not issue, but then when can you use this lambda expression? See, we are saying that this works is because in the calculator, we know the name of the method, we know the return type, we know the parameter type. But what if you have two methods here? Let's say I want to also add two numbers. Now, can we use lambda expression for this interface? The answer is no, is because at this point when you're saying defining this method, which method you are focusing on? Is it the square? Is it the add? And that's why you can say we got the error. JVM is giving you bad words or JDK is giving you bad words. So the idea is you can use lambda expression only with the interface with one method. And this type of interfaces, they have a special name to it. And the special name is functional interface. In fact, you can also use some annotations like functional interface, but we'll talk about annotation a bit later. At this point, just remember interface, the interface which only has one method is called functional interface. Before Java 8, functional interface was having a different name. It was called SAM, which is single abstract method interface. But now we call this functional interface. Making sense, everyone? Any questions before we complete functional interface? All good? Okay. Yes, Lambda expression can be used only with interface, not with the abstract class. Only with the interface, and that too, functional interface. Okay, we'll explore the functional interface more once we start with Stream API. It's time for the next concept. Okay, so let's take a break of 5 minutes and then we can get started. Or 5 or 10 minutes? 10 minutes?
5 minutes too.
5 minutes, enough?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, so let's take a break of 10 minutes and we'll continue with other topic. Yeah, we'll share the notes. So you have to go to the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, go to description, check for the Java Fast Track course, enroll there. You will find the notes by today evening. Yeah. Otherwise, if you're not able to find the description, go to courses.cisco.com, explore it. So see you in next 10 minutes.
All right, let's get back, everyone. Thank you for the patience and thank you for being there on the class. It shows you are really serious about your career, that you really want to learn something. It's not easy to come to the class on Sundays and attend the classes. And if you could able to do that, it's really great. Let me just reduce the sound here. Okay. So we could able to understand some of the topics since morning. Those are very crucial topics, and some of the real-time projects also you could able to see there. I mean, once you learn the Spring framework, when you develop the applications, you will see that the projects also extensively we use the advanced concepts such as the lambdas, expressions, anonymous inner classes, lambdas, stream apis, annotations. They play very crucial role. The oops concept, they are the fundamental. Like, if you say that you know Java, you must know oops. Apart from that, if you want to have a smooth journey of development, lambda expressions, stream API, collection, annotations, these concepts you should be very much comfortable. In the frameworks which we use these days to develop the application, it's not a new programming language. You're not going to learn a new syntax there. You're just going to learn how you're going to use the concepts of Java which you have already learned, how to use it. You have learned lambdas, you have learned annotations, collections, oops concept, how they are being used. Suppose if you have problem here in Java itself, then again you'll struggle in the frameworks. If you have no problem in Java, then frameworks journey, application development journey will be very much smooth. Great. So lambda expression is what we have seen, and it's time to understand one more crucial topic which every developer must know. It's none other than exception handling. Exception handling. Okay, great. Now you need to understand fundamentally one thing before I actually get into the code. We will try to understand most of them by writing down some of the code. I hope my screen is visible on the YouTube as well. Yeah, great. Whenever we write the Java code, you all know, you must be knowing it. We will be saving it within one file called as .java file. Any code in that matter, maybe the code file is telesco.java, where the actual source code will be present. I will refer this as the source code. Source code means whatever code which you have written, Java code, system.out.println class. Then we give that to Java compiler. We give that to Java compiler, and Java compiler will convert that, and you will be getting one more file. That file consists of bytecodes. Bytecodes. And that extension is class.class, telesco.class. Okay, .class we also referred as compiled Java file, wherein we will be getting the bytecodes. It is intermediate level language, neither in the high level language nor in the machine level language. At the end of the day, processor understands zeros and ones, and then this we will give it to JVM, Java Virtual Machines. JVM internally makes use of just-in-time compiler, interpreter, and so many other components you will understand in the JVM architecture. Internally makes use of so many components, and that will be given to your processor at the end of the day, and you are getting the output. So here I would divide two things, the entire execution, into two parts. You writing the Java code and converting the Java code into bytecodes. We call this as compilation phase, or you can also refer as compile time. Compilation phase, I'll say compile time. Okay, compile time phase. And after you generate the byte codes, you handing over that byte codes to JVM for the further execution, because at the end of the day, it is JVM which runs your Java code. We call that as execution time or runtime. Runtime. Now, you may get the mistakes error during the compile time also. You may get mistakes and error during the runtime also. Compile time error are subjected to usage of the programming language which you are using to develop the application. It could be the syntax errors. The errors could be you have forgot to use semicolon, you have opened the curly brackets, you have forgot to close, you have not used some of the things which is required in the programming language. Maybe you have to write the class with the small letters class, you are using the capital letter. So you are not using the language grammatically, syntax wise you are not using the language correctly, right? And none of them will be affected. That is happening at the development time, and then and there only you can rectify. There is something called as runtime error, or we have something called as exception, which occurs at the runtime, not during the compile time. Runtime in the sense when your application is running, when your application is using. Right now, all of you are watching this session on the Zoom, on the YouTube. That is also application that is right now running. The application is running, the code is executing, so only you could able to listen to me without any flaw. Now during the runtime when the application is getting executed, that time if you face any issue, it is very very critical, because the end user of our applications will be affected. Hence exception handling comes into picture. Exception is something which occurs at the runtime when the application is getting executed. I hope you could able to understand, all of you present in the class. Just acknowledge everyone. So it is something which are occur at the runtime, not during the compile time. So Java compiler will not look for it. I would like to demonstrate also by writing the code. And there is something called as checked exception and unchecked exception. Most often people confuse that checked exception is something which occurs at the compile time. No, any exception, whether it is a checked exception or unchecked exception, exceptions occur at the runtime. Checked exception means compiler will identify the possibility of exception. Unchecked means compiler will not identify the possibility of exception. What do you mean by that? You will understand. Okay, so let me open the IDE here and try to understand with respect to the code. Okay, so this is very crucial topic which has been discussed, one of the most important topic which everyone must know about it. I would like to go here and create a new project here, which is exception handling. I'll say here exception handling is the topic name, and as a developer you must know about it. Within the time frame how much ever we have to discuss. I have to consider that also, though whenever we take classes at Telescope, we discuss this concept for 10 hours, minimum 10 hours. Sometimes it has been discussed for 12 hours. So the topic usually at Telescope live courses which we discuss for 12 hours, you can understand how important this topic is. Around 6 days of live classes, we discuss only this particular topic, exception handling. And this I'm trying to give you a summary, maybe explanation of this topic within a time frame which we have around 1 hour or half an hour. But I'm pretty sure that you'll understand everything about it, whatever is required at least fundamentally to go ahead, right? Now, the challenging part is to do some of the topics quickly without any delay. Within the same file, I would like to create one class here. Whatever the name of the class you want, you can create. I would like to give the class name as maybe Calci here. Great. And you can see I'm following the proper syntax, Java syntax. I know the Java language. Compiler is not creating any issue here. I will go here and write one method public. Maybe I'll say here, whatever the return type, it has nothing to do with it. I'll say here int. I'll say here divide. Okay, I would like to just go here. Within this, I would like to accept two numbers. Integer type of maybe I'll say here number 1, comma integer type of number 2. After which I would like to take this here. I will store within a variable called as result by dividing number 1 by number 2, which is numerator and denominator. After dividing, I would like to return whatever is there inside the res. Very simple application. Look at the application. Did I follow the rule of Java here? Is there any compile time error? Is there any mistake with respect to the syntax of programming language? The answer is no. I'm a developer. I have followed everything correctly. Everything is perfect and compiler is not creating any issue. All the IDEs which we use these days, it could be the IntelliJ IDEA, it could be the Spring Tool Suite or the Eclipse, they have auto compilers installed within it. The moment you write the code, automatically your Java file is getting compiled. If you use Notepad++ or any other IDE, Edit Plus or any other IDE, then explicitly you may have to compile it. Since we are using IntelliJ IDEA right now, automatically code got compiled and we don't have any error. Behind the scene, .class file is also generated. After which, please see very carefully here. I would like to just sys out again the usage of the Eclipse. I will say here, application execution started. It is a main method from where the application begins. And at the end, I will say here, system.out.println. I would like to just say here, application execution finished. I'll say here completed smoothly without any problem. In between, I'll create the instance of calc. I will say calc type C equals to new calc, great. After which I would like to just say I want to print system.out.println. what would like to print? I will say here maybe result is, and I would like to just invoke c.divide. I will divide some number here. Maybe I'll say 100 is a numerator, 5 is the denominator. Very good. Fine. In the entire application which you can see on your screen, do we have any syntax problem? No. Do we have any logical issue? Anything logically, did I write anything wrong here? This is how we divide two numbers. This is how we store result in a number. This is how we return to the caller. I think everything is fine. Let me go back and run this application. There is no problem. Result is 20. All good. Fine. Now I would like to take the user input, maybe just to demonstrate the scenario here. I would like to say here, maybe scanner type. Whenever you have to take the user input, we use scanner, a predefined class of JDK. If you don't want to take user input, that's totally fine. You can demonstrate here also. Maybe I'll say here, scan equals to new scanner. All right. And within this, I may have to pass system.in. It is like a scan-off of your C programming language. Okay. Here we have scanner just to read something from the console. From your console right now, can I enter any data which can be taken into the program? No, this will enable that. That's it. Okay. I will say here system.out.println. I would like to say here, enter the numerator to divide. I'll say here divide. Again, whatever my user will enter, I will store inside number 1 by telling scan.nextInt. Whatever line of code I'm writing, my dear friends, it is related to getting the data from the console, not related to exception handling. This part of the code is the Java fundamental part of the code, how to read the data from the console. All right. So you should not confuse that, oh, something scanner and all for the exception handling. Nothing. It is not related to that. I'll say enter the denominator. Okay. My bad. All right. Whatever my user will enter, I will store in a variable called as n2 by telling scan.nextInt. That means it refers to, I could able to ask my end user, he will enter, I will store the number here, I will store the number here. So we have two numbers here. I would like to pass it here. I will say here n1, I will say here n2. Great. I'm passing. Now I would like to just go and run this application. I will say run as a Java application. See guys, application execution started. Enter the number to divide. I will enter 100. Enter the denominator to divide. I will enter 5. And the result is 20. Application execution completed smoothly. That means whatever application I have developed for the division, it is working fine. Is there any syntax error? No. Is there any logical error? No. Everything is fine. Right now we are in the internet era. Right? We are in the internet era. Whatever application we will be deploying it, the one who is going to use our application, there is no restriction that only a particular fellows have to use the application. Anyone can download, or anyone can use, or anyone have access to our application, and they can use however they want. Now those who know the basics of maths, they may know that what to give as a numerator, what to give as a denominator. Someone using the application may not know about what is numerator, what is denominator. Oh, some number I will enter. I will enter denominator as 0. Logically, can you divide anything 100 by 0? Can you divide anything by 0? Is it like, can division be possible there? But the one who is going to enter the denominator maybe not aware of the basic maths, because we are in the internet era. Now, when you enter the proper output, proper input as a denominator, see, is your application running smoothly? No problem, right? You have developed very good application. Now, I would like to go here, enter the numerator 100, denominator 0. See here. Have you got the message app execution completed smoothly? No, right? During the runtime, is it not your application getting terminated abruptly, abnormally? Is it a good experience for the end user? Suppose you are visiting an ATM, you have, entered your debit card, you have entered the password, and later abnormally your application, your ATM application stuck. Is it a good experience? You have logged into your any banking application, it's still logged in. During some of the usage of the features, application got abnormally terminated. Is it a good experience? No. So exception is something which occurs at the runtime, when the application is running, when the application is getting executed. And that's what we have a concept of exception handling. Have you got the message application terminated smoothly? No, you have not got that. Making sense, every one of you? Now, how do we handle the exception? If you ask me, exception can be handled by using one of the keyword called as try and catch. So what we can do here is, I will say here, try. All the risky code, keep it within the try and the catch block. I would like to do one thing here. And maybe for now, I would not like to invoke this method. I will come back to this in the exception propagation part. I will go here. Instead of me calling this method, I will try to divide this here itself. Number 1 and number 2. Okay. I will get back to that class. Right now, I don't want to create the instance also, as if the class is not exist only. Okay. And now I would like to just to say system.out.println. I would like to just print the result. I'll say result is plus, I will say R is. Okay, this is the application. If you enter the proper, no problem. Syntax wise, no issues. I will enter 100, 5. I'm getting the result. Application execution completed smoothly. And the last part of the code, which is logout part, that is happening very smoothly. Now the one who's using the application may be unaware of the basic maths. I'll say 100, 0. Have you got the message app execution completely, completed smoothly? No. That means in between itself, application is abnormally, abruptly terminating, and it is a bad experience. It is not good for the application. And that's what we have a concept of exception handling. How to handle the exception? By using try and catch. Again, I repeat, I give the disclaimer. Whenever we take the classes at Telescope about the exception handling, we do take for more than 10 hours, and within 30-40 minutes of time which we have, I'm just trying to give a quick summary about it. And how to handle it? You can go with whichever is the risky code which you feel because of that exception might occur. A possible code, as a developer you have to anticipate. Are you getting any warning or error from the compiler here that if someone enters 0 as the denominator and if you try to divide any number by 0, it will lead to an exception, it will lead to abnormal termination? Have you got any compile time warning here? Did compiler give you any warning or error that because of this code, if you try to divide any number by 0, someone can enter 0 as a number, and if you try to divide any number by 0, it might lead to an exception, it might lead to an abnormal termination of an application? Have you got any such warning or error from the compiler? No. I hope all of you are able to understand this. Yes, no, maybe. So no, so such exceptions which will not be checked by compiler. Compiler will not check the risk. Compiler will not check the possibility of exception. We call that as unchecked exception. And now this arithmetic exception comes from the family of unchecked exception. Such exception where compiler will not check the warning. Compiler will not check for the possibility of exception. Such exceptions, as a developer, it is your responsibility to anticipate the possibility of exception. As a developer, you have to identify the risky code, a code which might lead to an exception, a code where possibility of exception might occur. So it is developer's responsibility to identify. Now, as a developer, I have identified that this is the code. Someone can enter a denominator as 0, and someone, if you try to divide any number by denominator, might lead to an exception. This possible code, I will keep it within the block called as try block. Not just that, just for the safer side, I will keep the entire code only within the try and block. You will not face any issues on this. I will keep it within the try block. Try block. Fine. And whenever exception occurs, which part of the code you want to execute? Which part of the code you want to execute, you have to keep within one block called as catch block. Why? I will tell you. I would like to go back here and I will say exception is a parent of all exceptions. You can specify the specific exception also, but even if you say exception, that is also fine. It's a parent of all. If not, you can just provide a specific exception. Maybe I will give one suitable message. Maybe I'll say here, okay, enter non-zero denominator. Whatever message you want to give. After which I'll say here application executed smoothly. Now I would like to save this and I would like to just execute this program once again. Enter the numerator, I will say 100. Enter the denominator 5. Everything's working fine. I will say enter the numerator. I would like to say here 100. Denominator as 0. Enter non-zero denominator. App execution completed smoothly. Have you got abnormal termination of an application? No. Whatever the major part was there, that is getting executed. And whatever message was there inside the catch block, that is getting executed. Again, I would like to run this and I want you to focus here. If I enter the logical output, have you got whatever message is there inside the catch block? Have you got that message anywhere here? No. With this, we can come to one conclusion that catch block will get executed if and only if there is an exception in the code. Any exception in the code, that too, that code must be within the try block. If you keep the code within the try block, anywhere inside this code, if there is an exception at the runtime, directly the matter will come to catch block. And catch block code, whatever code you keep within the catch block, that code will get executed only if there is an exception. Suppose if there is no exception, then whatever code you write within the, catch block, that will not be executed. Point number 1. Point number 2, which I want you to understand is, suppose there is an exception in the line number 26. From that statement, till the catch block, in between whatever lines or statements are there, those lines and statements will never get executed. I repeat, suppose there is an exception in this line. After this, whatever remaining statements are there, no, they will not get executed. Directly it is the catch block. And after catch block, whatever is there, that will get executed, and whatever is there within the catch block, that will be executed. So right now, the main code which is responsible for an exception is line number 26. If you try to divide 100 by 0, this is the line, anything by 0. And by chance, if this it is generating an exception, after this, it is directly the catch block which gets executed. After this statement, whatever we have here, that will not get executed. I would like to just run it again here. See here, I will enter any number 4 by, I'll say 0. You can see exception is occurred. Enter non-zero denominator. But have you got the message result is something? Have you got that message here? No. Directly the message which is there inside the catch block. Now, just to summarize what I have discussed so far. Point number 1, exception occurs at the runtime when the application is running. Great. Point number 2, exception will lead to abnormal termination of the application. Your application abruptly gets terminated. Great. Point number 3, we can handle that exception in Java using the try and catch block. Wonderful. Point number 4, now whichever is the risky code, a code which might lead to an exception, possibility of exception might occur because of a specific piece of code. That code, as a developer, you have to anticipate if it is an unchecked exception. Most of the exceptions are unchecked. Unchecked means Java compiler will not give any warning or error. As a developer, you have to anticipate that this code might lead to an exception at the runtime, and such risky code, such suspicious code, you have to keep within a try block. Then to handle the exception, you have to write the catch block. Whatever code you write within the catch block, that code will get executed only if there is an exception. Suppose we have an exception here. If there is an exception, only then this code will be executed. Fine. And suppose if there is no exception here, whatever code you write here, that will not be executed. Again, the last point, if there is an exception to any statement, apart from that, directly it is a catch block which gets executed. What do you mean by that? If there is an exception here, lines below that, statements below that, till catch block, whatever in between statements will be there, that will not get executed. It is directly the catch block. Fine. So this is what we have understood so far. All good, my dear friends? If all of you are there in the class, can we move ahead? So far, so good. It is a try and catch and how things will get executed. All of you have understood. Now, I would like to go and take one more example just to demonstrate what do you mean by checked exception. Guys, in this code which you can see, whatever application I have created right now, did compiler give me any warning or error that this code might lead to an exception? Did I get any warning or error from the Java compiler? Good to see your active participation in the Zoom chat. I am really happy with this. No, that means it comes under the category of checked exception or it comes under the category of unchecked exception. Unchecked exception, all of you. Now I would like to just demonstrate you one example to show you, possibility of checked exception, which any topic I can just take. I'll say here maybe threading. Right now I'll go with the threading concept. I know multi-threading we have not discussed. There are videos of multi-threading available in the Tedisco YouTube channel playlist. You can just watch it. Okay, for now I would like to just give you I'm not teaching you threading here. I'm just teaching you checked exception. What do you mean by that? Okay, I would like to just say system.out.println. I will say here application execution started. All right. Harish is requesting me to explain throws and throw a keyword. Immediately after this, I'll explain that, Harish, and then we shall move to the collection topic. Okay. Again, I have repeated multiple times. Exception handling alone can be taught for 15 hours. But I am trying my best to cover and give you exact conclusion of the topic within the time frame we have, right? So I'll say here, application execution terminated smoothly, completed smoothly, terminated smoothly, whatever. All right, guys, I would like to run this application. Have you got the message? Application executed and both of them are running fine. Behind the scene, it is a thread which is executing. I will say thread, do one thing. What? Sleep for some 40 50 seconds, 5 seconds you sleep. I'm getting one error here. What is the error, guys? Unhandled exception. The moment you write the code, all the IDs has auto compiler and this code is getting compiled. Whatever error I'm getting, is it because of the Java syntax or is it because the possibility of exception is checked by Java compiler? Please let me know in the chat. Compiler is checking the possibility. Remember, guys, we are not getting any exception here. That exception might occur at the runtime because of this code. Compiler is giving me an error. Compiler is forcing me to handle it. Such exceptions are called as checked exception. Checked exceptions are such exceptions which are being checked by compiler. Java compiler will check for the risky and suspicious code which might lead to an exception. According to Java compiler, for 5 seconds in this application, nothing will happen. That time your application might get interrupted. Please handle. Here in this application, did you get any error or warning from Java compiler? It is unchecked exception. And whatever we are getting here, it is a checked exception. Either you can handle or you can duck it. I would like to duck it. Duck it in the sense, whoever will invoke this method, the exception will be passed to them. JVM will invoke and exception might go to JVM. I am pretty sure there will be no exception here. Exception will not occur. Simply compiler is showing me a warning that please handle. I will not handle. I will say here throws exception. Throws the exception. See, error is gone. Throws exception means it's like you are handing over the responsibility of the exception which is generating here to the caller of this method. Main method who will invoke, guys? Could you please tell me who is the one who is invoking main method? It is the JVM. So right now the responsibility is going to JVM. Suppose you are invoking from some other method, it will go to that method. I will explain you for now. It is like a ducking the exception. You are leaving that exception. You are not handling. It is not recommended to duck the exception. I am ducking because I am 100% sure this code will not lead to any exception. See here, if I run this code, you can see here. See 5 seconds, nothing is happening in your application. After 5 seconds, see remaining part is executing. For 5 seconds, nothing was happening in your application. Have you got any exception, guys? Have you got any exception? No. But my Java compiler is checking that there is a possibility of exception in the code which you have written here. Possibility of exception is checked by Java compiler here, and this comes under the category of checked exception. Have you understood, guys? Unchecked exception means what? Checked exception means what? Everyone in the class? Yes, no, maybe? Good to go. Great, guys. Now I would like to go back to the previous file where this is the code which is responsible to handle the exception, and this time this entire code, whatever code is there, right, I would like to keep it within this method only. Okay, and I don't want to accept the parameters. Let it be taken from the end users here itself, and of course I may have to create the instance there itself. I would like to just create the instance here itself. Okay, great. And it's n1 and n2. Okay, n2. Great. All right, maybe I don't want it to be, I would like to just say here void only, and I don't want to the, I would like just to print directly the result here itself. Okay. Understand this, everyone present in the class. I'll say here result is, I'll say res. Great. And whatever this part of the code is there, I would like to just remove that part of the code. Done. I'm creating the instance of calci. Done. And c dot, I'll say divide. Wonderful. All right, guys, please see very carefully here. Behind this, in what happens at the runtime, you must be knowing the fundamentals. I would like to just demonstrate quickly. Okay, exactly what happens here. Guys, there are two important areas. One is a runtime stack area, one is heap area. I would like to consider this a runtime stack area, which is a part of JVM. JVM is the one who executes Java program, and JVM internally has these data areas. And one of the most important data area is runtime stack area. Okay. And here we have a thread. Wherever this thread goes, that particular part of the code gets executed, right? Now, my dear friends, everyone present in the class, understand this. Whenever there is a call to a method on your stack area, stack frame of that method gets created. JVM first start the execution by invoking the main method. To execute the body of main method on your stack area, main method stack frame gets created. Main method code will be brought into the stack area by JVM, and this thread will start to execute this. All right. Now you are creating the object of calci. Calci object will be created, and using the reference, you are invoking divide method. To execute the body of divide method, JVM will load that entire divide method into the runtime stack area. So a divide method stack frame gets created. Stack frame method of divide. Whatever divide method code is there, it is available now. Now the thread will continue to execute. Enter the numerator 100, enter the denominator 0. Exception occurred. So here we got one exception. Now directly the exception will not be, given to default exception handler. You will not get that message. Inside whichever method exception occurred, right? That method, that stack frame will create the exception object that I got this headache. It will give it to JVM. JVM's runtime system. Within the JVM, we have a runtime system. It will give it to JVM. Now the boss JVM will look for that exception. Oh, this exception occurred inside this stack frame. Is it inside this method itself? JVM will check for the handler inside the same divide method, inside the same stack frame, that whether developer has written the catch block or not, whether developer has handled the exception or not. It will go and check there. Fine. If it is available, it will hand over the exception to catch block. If it is not available, right now in our case, guys, look at the code and tell me, do we have any handler present inside the divide? Do we have any exception handler present? No. Now it is not present. Now what happens here is JVM will now go to the caller of the method. Whoever has invoked this method, no, JVM will go, hey, look, main method, you have invoked the divide method, and divide method is giving some exception. The responsibility will come to you. Have you handled here? Now look at the code, guys. Did I handle the code inside the main method? Did I write any try and catch here? No, it's not there. Now what happens is JVM is like, oh, both of you have not handled. The matter will go to default exception handler, which will lead to abnormal termination of your application. Abnormal termination. So really, is this happening here? Kindly understand, my dear friends. I would like to go back, run this application. Please see here very carefully. Enter the numerator. I will say here 100. Enter the denominator. I would like to say here as 0. See here. Default exception handler is telling very clearly, hey, look, matter didn't come to me directly. JVM didn't terminate directly. It went to the calci.divide method. There was no catch block. Then I went to the caller of the divide method, which is main method. There also exception was not there. Both the stack frames I checked. There was no exception. Then we had no other options. No handler was present. We had no other options. We terminated your program abnormally. So the conclusion here is, if one method is generating an exception, and if you are not handling the exception here, automatically exception object is getting promoted to the caller of the method. Whoever has invoked this method, right, automatically exception is going to the caller and it is coming to their headache. Are you all understanding here? Exception objects getting propagated. Now guys, I will do one thing here. I will handle the try and catch here. I will write try and I will write catch here. I will say here catch and I will write the parent exception, or you can say specific exception also, not a problem. I will say a reference. Now please see guys, I would like to just write one try and catch block. Okay, and within this I would like to write one message, simple message, just to show you the control flow. Exception is handled in main. Guys, inside the main method class, have you written any code which is a risky code where a possibility of exception might occur? Have you written any code such as a riskiest code inside the main method? No, right? Have you written anything here? No, you have not written. I hope you are all able to understand what I'm trying to say here. Everyone in the class, I have not written here. Fine. Now I would like to run this application here. I would like to just go here, enter the number to divide 100, 0. Guys, exception is handled in the main. If exception is coming here, what does it mean? What does it mean? That means if a unit is generating an exception and if you have not handled the exception here, then automatically the exception object will be propagated to the caller of this method. Exception object will be thrown to the invoker of the method. Wherever you have called this method, the matter will go there. I hope all of them are aligned with me, everyone in the class. Yes. So inside the main method you are invoking, so the responsibility came to main and it is getting handled here. Yep. Now suppose I will not write try and catch block here. Okay, I will not write, or even if you write, not an issue. I would like to write here. I'll go back and write the try and catch here also. I will say try and all the risky code I will keep within the try block, and then I will write one catch block. I will say arithmetic exception is a specific exception, but anyway I'll give the parent of all by considering the time constraint we have here. Fundamentally we need to discuss here. Okay, now I will say system.out.println just to give you a message that exception is handled in divide method. Okay, divide stack frame method, whatever you call, both of them are referring to same. I would like to run this application running. Enter the number to divide. I'll say numerator 100, denominator 0. Guys, you got the message. Exception is handled in divide method. App execution completely. Have you got the message exception handled in the main method? Have you got it? Everyone, there is don't worry about the video guys, it is stuck due to some error. I would like to just check that. Ignore the video for now. Okay, ignore the video for now, and okay, now it is back. Please tell me guys. So if I am not getting this message, that means there is no exception coming to main method. Is that the conclusion? So the question here to everyone is, if exception is not handled in this unit, will exception automatically thrown to the caller of the unit, to the caller of the method, if it is not handled? All of you are telling the answer is yes. Very good answer and good focus, all of you. Suppose if exception is already handled here, will the matter go to the caller of this method? Will matter go to the caller? No. Fine. Great. Now my dear friends, whenever you are not handling the exception, no, it's your moral responsibility at least to say throws exception. You're ducking. By looking at the except method signature, people can understand that if I invoke this method, this is throwing me an exception. I may get the exception. It's a good practice. And now guys, sometimes right now, see, in our live courses, we teach some 2 applications to demonstrate this. But right now I can just tell you what it is. Use cases time constraints I have. Sometimes the requirement is I may have to throw the handled exception. After handling the exception, I may have to throw it manually, for which we use one keyword called as throw keyword. Tell me one thing, guys. If exception occurs here, that exception object will come to which block? If it is occurring inside the method, the exception object will come to which block? Catch block. Catch block is the one who will handle it. After handling the exception, I will manually throw the exception. I'll say throw whatever exception I'm getting. This exception, please throw it. This is manual throwing of exception. Or you can say rethrowing an exception. Rethrowing an exception refers to the process of throwing already handled exception object to the caller. Whatever exception object you have already handled, that you are throwing it. Fine. Is there, if there is an exception, you can add catch, and then why in the main method throws a keyword? No, we are not writing here, no. Now using the throw keyword, you can manually throw the exception object. Manually I'm throwing. That means even though right now I'm handling the exception, this time, will the exception go to the main method also, guys? This time the exception will go to main method also? It will go. Now I would like to just go here. If I have to run this, please kindly understand this. Enter the numerator to divide, I'll say 100. Denominator to divide, I'll say 0. Have you got this? Exception handled in the divide method, exception handled in the main method, both I'm getting means exception is also getting thrown. So how do we manually throw an exception object? Yes, exactly, Shailesh. How do we manually throw an exception in Java, guys? Which keyword is used to manually? What is the use of this in the real time? Nitish Kumar, very good question. But right now I cannot demonstrate that example. I usually take 2 big examples to demonstrate the real use of this in our live classes. We take 6 to 7 live classes in our paid batches of live, where we take only exception handling for 12 days. But right now, after this topic, I have to teach collection, stream API and annotation. So time constraint is there. I cannot show you. But right now, maybe sometimes, just to give you one basic idea, sometimes the problem which is occurring has to be propagated to the higher hierarchy. If you don't propagate, it will lead to a problem. Fine. Example, if you're going to a specific ATM machine, if you're using it, if you're putting the invalid password there, it is an exception, invalid input. That has to be propagated to the central agency, wherein your ATM card must be blocked in all the ATMs, not just in specific ATM. If something goes wrong here, sometimes we may have to propagate to others also, that there is an exception, so that it can be handled at the central level, at the top hierarchy level. That is what I can say for now. Okay. Great. Fine. Thank you so much for your valuable feedback, guys. It really, I appreciate it. Thank you for it. Now, guys, this is one part of the story. And one more point I want you to understand. Suppose if there are any statements, guys, app execution completed smoothly. This statement is there after the catch block. After the catch block, whatever statement is there, is it getting executed? Yes or no? Is your question, is the question. What is your answer in that? Yes, it is getting executed. No problem. I'll go back here after the catch block. I will write one more here. I will say here, divide method execution completed. Okay. Execution completed is the message I have given here. Great. Now, my dear friends, I would like to run this application once again. I will say here 100, 0. Have you got the message, guys? Divide method execution executed completely. Have you got that message? No. Remember, lines or statements below the throw keyword will never get executed. Whenever thread comes here to execute, right? Thread is coming, exception occurred. JVM checked and sent to the catch block. Thread is here. And you're telling you, they take this exception and get out. You are immediately sending your thread back to the caller of the method. Like you're throwing it. The thread is like, take this exception object, whatever exception is there here, take this and out. It will go to the caller. If there are any statements below that throw keyword, will never get executed. And if they are very critical and you want that to be executed before leaving the control, then you have to keep within a block called as finally block. Within a block called as finally block. So whatever code you write within the finally block, if exception occurs, this code will be executed. If exception is not occurring, this code will be executed. If exception is handled, this code will be executed. If exception is not handled, this code will be executed. So whatever you keep within the finally block, that will get executed whether exception is occurred, exception is not occurred, whether it is handled, not handled, irrespective of the situation. Now guys, whatever code you keep within the catch block, will that be executed if there is no exception? Will that be executed if there is no exception? No. So whatever code it is there in the catch block, it will get executed only if there is an exception. But here I would like to just run this, and please see very carefully, my dear friends. I will say enter the numerator 100, denominator 50. See here, result is 2. Divide method execution completed. Have you got the message which is there in the finally block, even though if there is no exception? Have you got that message? Yes. I would like to run this application here again. 100 divided by 0. Exception occurred, but still have you got this message? So whenever the cleanup code is there, resources closing code is there, we keep within finally block. Very important code which you want to get executed in your application. If exception is generated, not generated, handled, did not handle, whatever is the case, irrespective of the situation, if some critical and the most important code is there and you want that to be executed, irrespective of the situation of your application, we keep that or such code within the finally block. I hope now everyone are able to understand this. Fine. Here is where by keeping the time also in our thing, I would like to maybe stop the discussion on exception handling topic. Okay, fundamentally is what we have discussed. I completely agree on this because we have to complete the batch today itself. Okay, so we could able to understand fundamentally some of the important. We even if we didn't throw exception control, will go to the main and catch, right? If you don't handle a rule, if you don't handle inside the divide method, if you already handle, then it will not be through the catch of main method. If you already handle, it will not go. If you don't handle, then it will go. Okay. Just to trace the stack frame areas, Mansoor Sheikh. That method is just to trace which stack area the exception is occurred. Guys, so that's the end of exception handling here. Okay. That's what we have seen it. And as I have told 2 times, for the 3rd or 4th time I'm telling, I'm sorry to bore you with the same words again and again. That why? Because I don't want you to have a picture by just listening to me 30 minutes of exception handling. If you feel by listening to this lecture for 30 minutes, you got idea about exception handling. Imagine if you sometime, if happens to attend my 12 hours of discussion on exception handling, how much clarity and confidence you'll have on the concept. Okay. So anyway, enough of the clarity or set which is required for the Spring framework. This much is sufficient. Okay. Now I would like to just go ahead. Okay. With one of the most important topic, which is collection. Collection, which is introduced in Java from Java 2, Java 1.2 or Java 2nd version. Java Alpha, Beta and Java 1st version, it was not there. Great computer scientist or the programmer by the name Joshua and his team, they proposed this hierarchy, and Java was back then open source and they included it. Actually, it is trying to solve the problem whenever there is a large set of data in your application. Whenever we want to store a data in any programming language, we go with the concept of what we say variables, right? Example, if I want to store age of 20 personalities, sir, the spring batch would be also fast track, a bit slower in detail. That fast track is not for 2 days, Sailesh. That fast track is for 8 days. 8 days, morning 10 to 5. So it is for 8 days, 4 weekends, not for 1 weekend. Java also, if you give me for 8 days, 4 weekends, I can teach in depth, because here we have two things. Okay, that will be detailed. The topics which will be in the fast track spring batch will be this. These are the topics which we will be covering live. Whatever I am listing here, everything will be covered live. Okay. Guys, we create the variable age. All right. I will say here 18. If I have to maybe store the age of 20 personalities, then you have to create 20 variables, because at a time a variable can hold only one value. If you add a new value, if I say here age equals to 19, initially inside the age we had 18. Later when 19 is added, 18 is gone. So at one stage a variable can hold only one data. To solve this problem in all the programming language, we have a concept of array. Array gives you an idea wherein in one variable you can store any number of data. You can maybe, if you want to store a person of A, I'll say here integer type of array, wherein I will store maybe 20 or 30 or 40 or any number of integer values. Using one variable you can manage large data set, and this is the concept of arrays. In Java, array has some limitations. One limitation is array can store only one type of data. Integer means entire array only integer. And array don't have its own predefined methods to perform some manipulation with this data. Maybe the data I could able to store, I want to do some activity with this data. We don't have an option. For that, to resolve this, Java team in Java first version, they gave one hierarchy called as enumeration hierarchy with the classes such as vector, dictionary, right? All these classes with some predefined methods. Java team only has coded it. We just have to use it. So whenever you have to deal with large volume of data and easily store that, easily manipulate that, work with the data, there was some solution. But again, it was lacking in unifying theme. There were some issues. In Java 2, Joshua proposed one hierarchy. Java team accepted this. Collection hierarchy has so many predefined classes which you can use it in order to store large volume of data in one place. Not just storing in one place. Using the predefined methods present inside these classes, you can perform lot of operations easily. So whenever you want to process a larger volume of data in your application and using the predefined methods available, you want to perform lot of manipulations, activities, the concept of collection comes into picture. And in collection, there are 7 predefined classes. One predefined class is coming from the list interface family. The predefined classes are array list. Array list is one predefined class. Then we have linked list. Linked list. Then linked list is coming from the two interfaces. The entire hierarchy at the end I will try to give it. Let me just list out the classes here. The major interfaces are list, set and queue. These are the major interfaces which we have. And again we have class here called as array DQ. These are the predefined classes. All of these classes has its own data structures and algorithm which they follow. And if time permits, maybe I'll try to explain those data structures also, just to give you an idea about it. Array DQ, priority queue, priority queue. These are the classes names which Java team has already coded. And inside these classes, there are so many predefined methods available. Using those methods, you can store a large data set easily, and you can do a lot of things with the data by using the predefined code for which Java team has already worked. I will say here after which array list, linked list, array-dequeue, priority queue, and when we have tree set, hash set, and in Java 5 one more class got added which is linked hash set. And to the same hierarchy, later Java team has added the legacy classes also, vector and all. They were not part of collection, but later they added, they are from the legacy part. Okay, these are the original classes of collection. All of them has their own unifying theme, own data structures, own algorithms which they are following. Okay, these are the classes, and one by one these classes we may have to see. All right, now they follow their own data structure. How they follow, all of that we may have to see. Just to start the journey, array list I would like to start. Vector class, tag class, they were legacy classes later added to the collection. Original collection classes are this. They were coded before the collection. Stack, vector and dictionary is there in Java from Java alpha beta version, not Java second version. It was there before collection. When collection came, they told let's add this. Okay. Again, collection can be discussed for 20 hours in detail, but I don't know in 30 or 40 minutes how I will be able to convey this concept. I may have to see on that. Okay, 1:30 to 2:30 also we have time, 2:30 to 3:30 and 4. Great. I'll do one thing. I'll start the journey of collection now, and the remaining part, a break. After the break we will take, and then we shall see. Okay, I would like to just go and create the class here, a new project. I'll give the name as the project as collection. Just I will give the start of collection. Okay, I'll say collections or collection project. Okay, I would like to say here. Great. All right, my dear friends. Okay, so if you want to work with collection, you have to use these predefined classes which I have listed, and these predefined classes are available in the util package. You may have to import it. I will say here array list type list equals to new array list, new array list. How to use the concept of generics in the live class not possible. Maybe I'll ask our team if they can upload the videos on the dashboard. Okay, I have to import this, cannot resolve it seems. It's not aware what is this array list all about. I'll say import from the util. I have imported. I'm getting the warning here because of I'm not using the concept of generics. What is generics? Again, it's a separate discussion. I'll give you an idea about it. I'll say list dot by using, see, so many methods are there. Are you able to see? With the data, whatever you want, you can perform. I'll say add. I'll add some data, maybe 4. I'll say list dot add. I'll add the data. I'll say maybe Harsh. I'll say list dot add. I will add the data 4.4. You can add any type of data in one collection. Though it is not recommended to add heterogeneous type of data in one collection. It will lead to class cast exception situation. If you want to avoid class cast exception situation, you should not go with writing heterogeneous mixed type of data in one collection. Always add one similar type of data. Why? Again, it is a detailed discussion, and I have the recorded videos of the concept of generics available in the Telesco YouTube channel also. If not, maybe we'll try to ask our team to add some videos on the generics in the course dashboard. Anyway, it is a free course. All of you can join. I would like to just print. I'll say please print what is there inside the list. I would like to run. You can see here, whatever is there, it is getting printed on your screen. You can do whatever operations you want with this data which you have in front of you, whatever operations you want. Now, all these classes has its own data structures and algorithms. For an example, array list, linked list, they belong to the family of dynamic array data structure. Linked list internally follows doubly linked list data structure. Array DQ internally follows the double-ended queue data structure. Priority queue internally follows min heap data structure. Tree set internally follows the red-black algorithm, binary search tree data structure. Hash set, linked hash set, they follow hashing algorithm. Okay, so many predefined methods I would not be explaining, but I will just show you different classes, different purposes. By traveling through the these classes and these data structures, and maybe after the lunch break we will have 1 hour of discussion on collection topic, and I'll explain you the predefined data structures which are there. Even if you have zero idea on data structure, you will get an idea that how these data structures work and how these classes are different from each other and why do we have these classes. Quickly we'll try to have an idea about it, at least for 3-4 classes. If you understand 3-4 classes, you will get the theme of collection. This concept of collection is working on what theme, how this is working. At least that clarity if you get, it will more than sufficient. I hope all of you are okay with it. Great. So this is the start of the collection journey, and we shall have one more discussion and then quickly stream API followed by the concept of annotation if time permits. All right. Even otherwise, if you go to the Telesco YouTube channel live section, if you scroll down, maybe 1 year ago or sometime, I have taken 1 hour session on annotation concept in Java on the Telesco platform itself. If by chance today, if there is no time and if you are not completing, then that can be watched, or there is separate recorded videos on annotation. So whatever promised topics are there, we will try to cover before 4 o'clock. By chance, if some promised concepts are not able to complete, those recorded videos we will add into your course dashboard, which you can watch it. You have an access for almost 1 month. You can get the code files, board work, and all the promised topics on your course dashboard also. Okay, let's take 1 hour of break. At 1:30 we can join back and continue the journey of the topic collection, the most important topic. We will try to understand about internal data structures also if time permits, right? So thank you guys. Let's meet after the break. Thank you everyone. After the break we shall meet.